Hello everyone, welcome back to UK Fatman. And today I'm on my travels down by the River Thames in East Tilbury, which some of you may or may not know is quite a interesting place for Hollywood blockbuster movies. I know it sounds surprising, but it's true. So I'm actually just by the Thames, a place called Coalhouse Fort. Behind me is an old World War II radar tower that was put in the Second World War as an early warning system for potential attacks on London during the Blitz. Over there is London Gateway, one of the world's largest ports. I live about a mile and a half, 2 miles up the road. So it's quite a local place for me to come down. And it's quite a popular place, as you can see, there's people walking around. Over that way is the centre of London and Tilbury Docks. Now, Tilbury Docks was a filming location for the film that I'm here to talk about. And Indiana Jones, I think it was The Last Crusade, and they turned Tilbury Docks into Venice for the Venice boat chase scene, believe it or not. So they're going through Venice, which was shot on location, and then the bad guys chase after Indy and his girl, right-hand girl, and they jump into a boat and they chase around Tilbury Docks. And if you watch the clip that's on YouTube, I'll do a link in the description below. If you look at it closely enough, you can quite clearly see it's a docks and it's not Venice whatsoever. But we're going to head in that direction where I came in and go and have a look at Coalhouse Fort. And as I said, Coalhouse Fort was the location for one of the opening scenes in what I believe is the best superhero film ever made, Christopher Nolan's 2005 Batman Begins, which I think without him filming that, the past 15 years of Marvel comic adventures, etc., would never have been made. So let's go and take a look. So that there is the radar tower, built in 1940, 41, 42. And there's some information for people coming to visit. This small section of foreshore has witnessed some fascinating events from Roman times through to the Second World War. That's a time span of nearly 2,000 years. So there's actually been a fort or fortifications since the days of Henry VIII. So Henry VIII, as you may know, if you know your history, when Henry VIII broke from the Catholic Church and was a bit worried that England was going to get invaded and they were going to try and take over and impose Catholic rule on the nation. So he instructed the building of fortifications, which are over there. Well, actually, Henry VIII's fortifications are actually sunk. They're probably somewhere closer, but over time they sunk into the ground. So the building we're looking at over here, that's Coalhouse Fort as it exists today. So this external building at the fort here is one of the detached wing battery, which was built in 1893. And the guns that they used to use at Coalhouse Fort, they were so heavy, they used to have a jetty somewhere out to sea, two special built gun barges called Gog and Magog that were built in 1896 and 1900, and they were used to bring the guns and armaments from the Thames into the Coalhouse Fort. So that's the gun battery there on the outside, and you can see, and this is one of many actual forts that surround this area. Out there is the Thames estuary, so you've got the North Sea and access to the Channel Tunnel, the English Channel. And so there was, over the years, there's various forts over on that side in Kent, over on this side in Essex. Further down there is Tilbury Fort. We'll go and take a look at that one day. But this is thought to be one of the best preserved Victorian era forts. So after Henry VIII's fort was disarmed in 1553, you know, people kind of chilled out a little bit and stopped going to war every other year. But then fear of a French invasion in 1799 prompted a new fort to be thrown up here, and it had 4 24-pound cannons. But then after Napoleon's defeat at Waterloo in 1815, the fort was abandoned. Back in 1855, the fort was actually enlarged to hold 17 32-pounder guns. And these guns were so powerful that when they used them, when they fired the shells, because they were worried about ironclad boats coming down the Thames, French ironclad boats, so they got these guns. And every time they fired these armour-piercing missiles, they were so powerful that when they were fired, the shock waves could break houses' windows over half a mile away. And this building here is the extended Defence Officers Post from the Second World War. Looking out again to the Thames, and it was actually to control, there was a minefield outside of the fort. So this building in here, just full of rubbish and graffiti. People have actually climbed into here, obviously. But this isn't where, this wasn't featured in Batman Begins. This is just part of the fort. What was featured in Batman Begins is the parade ground inside the fort itself, which unfortunately you cannot get into anymore. There used to be some volunteers, a volunteer group that used to run the fort, and they used to have open days and no barbecues. They used to have open days and you used to be able to go in and see inside. And if you've watched Christopher Nolan's films, you'll know he could have, and if you watch the clip early on, so Bruce Wayne's a troubled soul, he's on a little jaunt around Burma, I think it is, and he ends up stealing, I think he steals an apple, and he ends up in jail and gets into a scrap. And it would have been really, really easy, I think, to create that scene on a sound stage at Pinewood or Leversden Studios, or any number of the studios, or any studio, or even use CGI. But they didn't. They came down to Coalhouse Fort in Tilbury, which I find quite sweet, quite cute. The fact that Christian Bale, one of my favourite actors, Christopher Nolan, one of my favourite directors, spent probably a couple of days in the parade ground, which I'm sure we can't get into, or we'll see if we can get any shots inside, and shot that scene, one of the opening scenes in Batman Begins. Fantastic. And the other bit of trivia, Batman trivia, East Tilbury Docks, or Tilbury Docks, which was that way, I think I pointed out earlier, was the scene where Batman first makes his appearance, when the crime lord, played by Tom Wilkinson, Falcone, I think he's going to pick up some dodgy stuff from the ports, and all his henchmen get attacked by the shipping containers. And again, that was Tilbury Docks, aka Venice, Dublin, for Indiana Jones. So let's see if we can get some shots of the parade ground itself. It'd be good if we could. So this is the outside of the fort. You see these granite, I think they're 5 feet thick granite walls, cast iron surrounded gun ports. Really is quite impressive. You can take a Some decent artillery to punch a hole in these walls. I don't know if you can see anything inside there. Another interesting fact about Coalhouse Fort was, for a time, it was actually a shoe storage facility. And there was a massive, massive shoe factory just down the road in East Tilbury village. The Bata shoe factory, I think it was a Czechoslovakian company. And so for a period they stored shoes here. And yeah, as I suspected, this is as close as we can get to the parade ground, which is just behind me, behind these doors. There's a large parade ground, there's some guns there, and it's these high banks. And when Bruce Wayne, when Batman has his fight, they roll down the bank into the parade ground, and you can see all around the barracks. Underneath here, there's lots and lots of tunnels underneath the fort itself. Very atmospheric, really good for, I'm not sure if there's anything else has been really filmed there, but Batman Begins began here. Yeah, so that was it, as close as I'm afraid I could get to the parade ground and the filming location for Batman Begins. Just can't get in. Unfortunately, the volunteers, I think it's run by, I'm pretty confident it's run by the council. So Thurrock Council, get your act together, start doing some opening day so we can go inside the fort itself, open it up, and let's people go and see. I've just been speaking to some people, speaking to a guy then, just saying how interesting it would be to see inside it. So I hope you enjoyed this little tour of Coalhouse Fort, which doubled for the Bhutanese Jail in Batman Begins. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please do subscribe, give us a thumbs up and hit that notification bell. See you next time. Cheers.